In solo leveling, after the national level hunter Thomas Andre arrived in order to face against the Monarch of Fangs, the top-ranked hunter in Germany, Leonard Neerman nervously called out for his name as the hunters in the background shouted in relief and excitement saying that the Goliath was here. But Andre, annoyed, yelled telling the idiotic hunters not to stand there and evacuate the civilians. Looking at the monster before him, Thomas said that it looked like this wild beast didn't know its place. But the menace only stared back, licking his lips, ready to pounce on the man before him, making Andre say that a mad beast like him must be vanquished, and that was a universal truth. As both wild animals stared at each other, they ferociously emitted aura upon aura, waiting to see who would be making the first move. Rakan suddenly launched an attack in a fraction of a second, hitting Andre point blank, but Andre's impenetrable body managed to block the attack, making his claws useless against him. And with this chance, Andre quickly counterattacked, launching a devastating blow to the Monarch's jaw. But this didn't stop the beast, as he managed to counter the counterattack, hitting Andre's side. But Andre took it like a champ, suddenly extending his hand over the Monarch and pummeling him into the ground with overwhelming strength. Getting out of the car, Choi Jong-in asked a hunter how the evacuation was going so far. He responded saying that they were still rescuing civilians inside buildings, making Guildmaster Choi ask which guilds were dealing with the situation on site. The hunter responded saying that the Fiend Guild and White Tiger Guild were dispatched to the site, and hunters over the country were also gathered there because of the massive gate, saying he's sure the beast would be subdued in no time. The random hunter went on to say that the Hunters Guild only has to focus on rescuing civilians and getting them out of the area, but Guildmaster Choi could only think about how this dumbass said the beast would be subdued in no time. With Thomas Andre, a national-level hunter, battling against this mysterious beast, the colossal aura he was feeling, he had never felt something of this magnitude before, not even during the Jeju Island raid. And then he questioned what the hell kind of monster the Goliath was up against. A monkey can be seen flying across the sky at incredible speeds, then immediately crashing into a building with tremendous force, with the one who sent him flying being no other than the national-level hunter, Thomas Andre. But as the dust started to settle, the beast quickly started climbing up the building, and in the fraction of a second, the Monarch suddenly launched himself towards Andre with immeasurable speeds, landing a devastating headbutt right on the hunter's gut. But this attack wasn't able to make Andre move even one step from his place, completely stopping him in his tracks. Then, in 1/10 of a second, he suddenly grabbed the Monarch, lifting him up into the air, and then landing the most destructive suplex ever seen to man. But just as he was thinking that he had won, the Monarch suddenly landed an immeasurably powerful kick right to his face, sending him flying. The Monarch then gave out an extensive grin because of how good that last hit must have felt. And as Thomas Andre managed to land on his feet, it looked like he didn't like that one bit, activating his exclusive skill, Reinforcement. The White Tiger Guild finally arrived on the battlefield, with Guildmaster Yunho saying that it looked like this was where the action was, telling his entire guild to get ready. That is until a sudden explosion landed right in front of them, shocking the Guildmaster and the rest of the guild to no end, making them question if that was the magic beast that was reported to have appeared. He then nervously looked to the other side, seeing a man clad in golden armor, saying that he must be the world-renowned Goliath, Thomas Andre. Seeing his enormous display of power, the random MFs in the background couldn't help but cheer for the Goliath, but Andre, seeing these dumbasses just standing there, quickly told them to take cover. The Beast King, ready to get his get back, smiled in excitement, making Baek Yunho think that that was definitely no ordinary beast and should transform right away. But mid-thought, the Monarch was already up in his face like EDP looking at a delicious cupcake. Yunho couldn't even look the Beast King in his eyes. The difference in power couldn't be more clearer. It was just like animal instinct, the desperate struggle to not be perceived as prey. But the Fang Monarch quickly passed the wuss without even acknowledging his existence. Rakan then activated his power of telekinesis, lifting multiple vehicles into the air, then suddenly launching them into Andre's direction at immeasurable speeds. Thomas was able to swat away a couple of the first vehicles to come at him, but after the fourth car stuck to him like a magnet, he was suddenly drowning in a sea of vehicles that came after. That is until Andre activated his ruler's authority, pulling the Monarch towards him. And as he was being pulled, the Goliath suddenly launched the vehicles that were on him and ground slammed the absolute shit out of the Beast King with overwhelming strength. Oh, but he wasn't done there, as he extended his hand backwards, serving the Monarch serious consecutive punches with all his might and every fiber of his being. But even as he kept punching him without letting up, something felt wrong, making Thomas Andre question what was this uneasiness washing over him as he can feel victory slipping away through his fingers. And as Andre was about to deliver his final blow, the Beast King grew tired of this shit, blocking the Goliath's punch mid-attack, stopping him then and there. The Beast then said that he was surprised that a mere puppet of a fragment could wield such strength, but now he's had enough of his petty tricks. The King of Beasts then suddenly crushed Andre's fist with his immense strength, and as he towered over him, he asked, "Are you afraid?" Then, as he was slashing his armor to pieces, he asked him once again if he felt fear, and if he had lost any hope of coming out of here alive. Baek Yunho and the rest of the White Tiger Guild could only stare at the sight before them in fear, hearing and watching as their savior was getting completely and absolutely destroyed. But then, as he was beating him senseless, Rakan noticed something strange, extending his arm towards Thomas Andre's shadow, saying that there was a little rat hiding in there. He then pulled the shadow ant by its throat and asked it what it was doing hiding in the shadows, then crushing it with ease, killing it on the spot, saying it was a nuisance, telling it to go away. He then suddenly grabbed Andre by the throat, saying they should pick up back where they left off. And since he seemed confident in his strength, they should make this final struggle a battle of strength. But Andre's helmet suddenly shattered, surprising the Monarch. And in the fraction of a second, the Goliath went behind his back, putting the Monarch in a complete chokehold, and asked him what the hell he kept yapping about. And as the Beast King tried to exert more strength in order to free himself, Thomas did so as well, holding on to him with all his might. But unexpectedly, Rakan's neck suddenly snapped, quickly turning around to Andre's direction, grabbing his entire face. The Monarch then swung the hunter upside down like a rag doll with minimal difficulty and slammed him into the ground with immeasurable strength. He then looked at him straight in the eye and apologized, saying that he was starting to feel a little hungry. But an attack suddenly came out of nowhere, slapping him in the face, sending him backwards. And at the other end of the attack being no other than the strongest hunter in Germany, Lennart Nierman, telling the beast that he wouldn't let him have his way. Seeing the monster oozing a deadly, menacing aura, Lennart was absolutely terrified, thinking that even just standing in front of it was sending shivers down his spine. The terribly injured Andre then told Lennart to run away, since he would die if he didn't. But he responded saying that he knew that, but he wouldn't run since he was still a hunter as well. And as he was ready to block the incoming beast, he thought to himself that he had no regrets. Even if this was really his final hour, he would still choose the same fate 100 times over. He would rather choose an honorable death over a cowardly survival. But since an absolute monster of a beast stood before him, his resolve started to waver, making him repeat to himself that he had really made the right choice. But being completely overwhelmed by the Monarch, he questioned if he had made the wrong choice instead. That is, until a monster suddenly flew beside him in a fraction of a second, chomping on the Monarch himself, flying him away. The monster being no other than the Shadow Dragon, Kaisel. But Rakan suddenly slashed the dragon's face with his claws, making it let go as it disintegrated into nothingness. The Monarch then grinned, seeing as the attack barely managed to put a scratch on him. But out of the embers of the destroyed dragon, the one and only Shadow Monarch and Riz King Sung Drip Wu appeared, drop-kicking the absolute shit out of the King of the Beasts, slamming his entire being into the ground, creating an immense shockwave. Drippy Wu then landed next to Lennart Nierman, confusing him. He then asked him to take Thomas Andre somewhere safe because this battle was just about to get real. And as the beast tried standing up from the rubble, he was surprised, saying it was actually true, that a human carried the scent of the Shadow MF. A human, no less. Lennart and the rest of the hunters then retreated to the back of the line, telling Drippy Wu not to worry about them. But Drippy Wu looked dead serious in front of him, saying that he had an intense thirst for blood, and on top of that, he wasn't alone. The Beast Monarch then looked behind him, asking how he was able to generate a supreme being's power to this extent with a human body. The Frost Monarch, materializing in the field, responded saying that the architect must have found a way, since it had been a while since the Shadow Monarch made a deal with him. The Plague Monarch then came from behind, saying that if that was the case, could she eat the human's corpse? Materializing into the battleground, saying that she's always wanted to know what another monarch tasted like. Currently, it was a 1 versus 3 against the other monarchs. The successor of the Shadow Monarch himself sung Drip Woo, Sillid the King of Snowfolk, the Monarch of Frost, Rakan the King of Beasts, Monarch of Fangs, and Queresha the Queen of Insects, the Monarch of Plagues. A standoff between these supreme beings ensued, and as they powered up to their maximum, their combined strength sent a beam into the sky, shaking the entire foundation of the world. "Come forth," Drippy Woo commanded, extending his entire shadow across the battlefield. Shadow Commander Igris then rushed out of the shadow, going straight for the Frost Monarch, as the elite knight Iron followed suit. At the other end, Jima and Tank went straight for the Beast Monarch in order to jump him, with the shadows going for the Plague Monarch, being none other than Baru and Greed. Rakan then smiled, asking if this was really the new Shadow Army. The Frost Monarch then quickly inhaled cold energy, freezing every single shadow in front of him with a massive cascade of ice. Drippy Woo then looked dead serious, suddenly blocking the attack with both his daggers. In the aftermath of the attack, both Greed and Tusk can be seen stuck encased in ice, as well as the entire Shadow Army Drippy Woo had just summoned. The Frost Monarch then said that even though there's quite a few of them, they were still just disorderly mobs, saying that his soldiers wouldn't be able to move an inch inside this ice prison. The batty Monarch of Plagues tapped the ice, asking the Frost Monarch if he had to freeze her children as well when they were just about to reunite. The Frost Monarch then said that it was absurd how Drippy Woo thought he could stop them using only these shadows, saying that he must be looking down on them. And what's more, it seemed like he hadn't fully absorbed the powers of the Shadow Monarch yet. The Monarch of Shadows may have been the greatest one among them, but he still shouldn't have underestimated the powers of the other monarchs. Drippy Woo then crushed the ice, encasing his hand with ease, and while looking at the Frost Monarch dead in the eye, he said, "You," swinging and spinning his dagger around. "No matter what happens, you're going down." The Frost Monarch then summoned an entire army of ice golems, saying that he was an insolent fool. The Monarch of Plagues, summoning her army of disgusting insect zombies, went on to say that they should let her in on the fun as well. A group of insects then suddenly lunged themselves towards Drippy Woo in order to swarm him, which surprised him, making him question if she was really using human corpses, as he sliced them apart with ease. A giant ice golem then came out of nowhere, attempting to stomp Drippy Woo into the ground, but he easily managed to dodge the attack, climbing up on his legs, slashing his entire head clean off his body. But suddenly, a group of golems appeared in an instant, making Drippy Woo activate his Quicksilver skill, jumping out of the golem's surrounding array, rushing straight for the Frost Monarch at immeasurable speeds. The Monarch of Frost, being completely surprised by this stunt, didn't have any countermeasures to block the incoming attack. That is, until the Beast Monarch suddenly stepped in, attempting to slice Drip Woo with his claws, but failed since he managed to dodge it, leading to an all-out confrontation between both monarchs, which was faster than the eye could see. Rakan then asked if he really thought he could hurt him with a little iron stick like that, but Drippy Woo, suddenly slicing the Beast King's hand in a fraction of a second, said that this wasn't an ordinary iron stick.